How do you let like your conscious awareness be flooded with like, you are the person that you're becoming, as opposed to being obsessed with like the destination? It's like, this is it. Like life is short and it's hard and it's difficult, but like just embrace all parts, and working with intuition brings us back to that trust.
Okay, guys, we are here with Sarah, Greg, and Jill Ritchie. So happy to have you guys. Thank you for flying over the ocean and coming here and talking to us. Could you please explain to our audience what you do and why you like it, doing it? What drew you to what you do?
What a great question. So we are the co-founders of the Intuitive Psychology Association. So we co-created intuitive psychology because we're a mix of two worlds. So my background's in psychology. I'm a member of the British Psychological Society, published author. So very much kind of view the lens through like a scientific, like how do I prove this? How does that apply to everyone else? Jill is highly intuitive, like one of the best intuitive coaches that I've ever met. And what we noticed was when we were coaches and we were working with clients, we were getting these incredible results, like better than kind of everyone else. And you know the coaching industry, like people come and go a lot like from it.
Yeah.
Whereas we were really standing the test of time. And when we started to discuss in our work, we realized that actually underneath all of that was like we were working with intuition. Jill approached it from a very kind of like holistic, natural perspective. I was approaching it more from the evidence-based. And so we merged the two worlds together. We're a bit of kind of like a bit of nerd and a bit of magic kind of rolled into one.
That's the best. That's amazing. And Jill, how did you discover your intuition being so powerful?
Yeah, as a child, very, very intuitive. We all are as children. And then typically society conditioning comes into play. And I was in a senior corporate leadership role, so definitely the opposite of what I was doing. I was in banking, which is quite ironic because I was so crap at maths. Maths was my worst subject. Failed my maths, but I ended up in finance. But I was really good with people. And then I went off and had my children and came back and tried to maintain that life of working 60 plus hours a week with two really young children. And at that point, we're talking maybe eight plus years ago, being vulnerable was never seen as, we love vulnerability. It was seen as weakness. Right. And so I definitely masked for years and years and years my own pain. My hair was falling out. I was covered literally head to toe in eczema.
So your body will tell you if your brain is like, you're not going to listen to me? Okay.
Absolutely, right? These were manifestations of me not really tuning into my true essence, my purpose, my mission. And at the time as well, my mum was really sick. She had terminal cancer. And so I was going through a lot, but again, still trying to ride that wave of, I can do this. Right. And then, until I couldn't, I actually went to the doctors a number of times. They wanted to prescribe me with antidepressants. And I have nothing against that for so many people. However, for me, there was something in that moment in the surgery where I thought, if I take this medicine, I'm not getting to really the root of what's going on. Yeah. I'm going to take this, and the level of shame I personally felt of, oh no, I'm on something to, because I now need medicine for this. But there was it was almost this voice saying, you need to get underneath what's really going on, the pain. And so I started working with an intuitive coach, and it transformed my life. It was like, stop outsourcing, including medicines and trying to numb and take a pill for an ill, go inward and really understand who you are. And that was it. It was that moment of, wow, I need to leave. And within a few months, I'd quit my job. Started retraining as a coach, went through this whole personal evolution and journey of deep intuitive healing.
Oof, did you do a lot of crying?
A lot of crying, a lot of throwing up.
Crying.
A lot of throwing up.
Yeah, because you experience like a death and a rebirth.
Yeah, for sure. And I've had many since then.
Yeah, and they don't stop.
But that was it. And I knew at that point, it wasn't just an overnight thing. It took a lot for me to go in and to really learn to unlayer those parts. But wow, to be able to come in and trust that sort of voice, not knowing the outcome, was huge, but thank goodness I did, because then...
And then you guys met.
And then we met.
And it's such a great marriage of
For sure.
science and intuition. Like, I cannot think of a better yin and yang.
For sure.
Like, the two of them together. When people come to you guys to seek services with coaching, what is like examples of goals that people have?
So when we created the Intuitive Psychology Association, which we call IPA, which is unfortunate because it's not a beer, right? In fact, we did a big festival. Yeah, it's much better. We did a festival in the UK and they just abbreviated it and said like IPA. And we had this big line of people.
A bunch of dudes.
They're like, is this like beer tasted? We're like, no, it's for your intuition. So yeah.
Which is something dudes really needed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe it was for the best.
Yeah, probably.
Trick 'em.
Exactly.
Tricking men.
Yes, it is. So when we created it and when we created IPA, it was really at a stage where we had, we'd been in the coaching industry for a long time. We were very frustrated with the coaching industry. It's a bit of a wild west. It's an unregulated profession. If you're kind of like in psychology or if you're in counseling, like it's regulated. There's like certain terms that you have to use. But anyone can.
Yeah, I just wanted to, because I was like, that's like the problem with coaching. I think, especially for our listeners, we try to talk to them about this a lot. There's a lot of times it's, I don't want to use this in a derogatory way, but like it's your craziest friend who becomes a coach.
Yeah, right.
And
it's the one you see at your high school reunion. You're like, you're helping others,
I know,
right?
For sure.
And like the accreditation, like it's like, I know it's kind of like I said, unregulated. You can kind of like self-accredit sometimes.
Oh yeah, you could wake
insane.
up tomorrow like you're crazy and goes like, I'm a coach and like, especially in like social media now, like all you need is like, an iPhone in front of you and like
and a ring light.
Yeah,
a couple of fancy pictures.
Yeah.
And with a yacht behind you, live this life too.
Right. Yeah. So that, okay. Because I was just like, it's haunting me. It
is haunting.
It haunted us. That's why we created this. It absolutely haunted us. I was one of the ones that would complain to Sarah. Like, we've been friends for years, and we would always like be on the same page with us. I was going like, this is pissing me off. What I'm saying on social media, these people. And then I would go on, and you would be the same. And like, what? And then it came to a point where we were like, stop moaning about it and be the change.
Yes.
If it ain't there, do shit and make it happen. And that was it. That was the driving force. It was like, right, stop talking about it because you're adding to the problem. What are you doing about it to make it better?
Yeah.
And that was it.
Because coaching has a really valuable place.
Oh, I've had an intuitive coach I hired, and it was fucking life-changing.
Yeah.
Right.
Life-changing.
For sure.
So like good coaching done really, really well changes lives. And it's an incredible profession, one that we're really, really proud of. So we came together, we like mapped out like a suite of like 34 techniques. We blended like evidence-based ways to access your intuition, created a full curriculum, and then we became the world's first and only intuitive psychology coach training agency. We're accredited to the highest level in the entire industry, and we're actually only one of 11 in the world to be accredited to that.
Badass.
Yes,
ladies. Fuck yeah.
Taking up that space,
Yeah, and it's like, well, because it's like, when you're born, it's such a gamble. Your parents, they might be cool, they might teach you things that it's really a gamble. And so I found with coaching, it's like, I'm like my Anne Marie, this woman that I was working with, like she helped like raise me in a way. Like I was in my mid-30s when I hired her, but like it really is this more intimate level. It goes deeper than a therapist, and it goes deeper than like a psychic or something like that, or a healer. It's just it's very intimate. Could you give us examples of the goals that people come to you with?
Yeah, so it depends. Like mostly people are lost and disconnected from themselves. So the goal that people come with is never really the goal. It's never really the thing, because you're setting some form of like conscious intention, like some form of like thing that you want that's often something to meet an unmet need. So you're often driving for something to satisfy a need of like love, belonging, so like relationships, for example, like I want to meet my person,
right.
But the absence, like that's just an indicator of like, okay, well, that's not manifesting like in reality, like it's not coming into your external reality because there's something deeper underneath.
Yeah.
So people will often come with a goal, but the goal normally changes, as in like it's not necessarily the thing that you will strictly work on, because underneath that there's normally like fear, anxiety, like childhood trauma. So you'll go deeper with that. And ultimately what people gain from coaching is self-trust, authenticity, and a return to self. Like I would say that is like the underlying thing And then whatever you want, like in your vision of the future, you can work towards because you trust yourself in the present.
It feels so much better to trust yourself.
Right.
Oh God.
And then you talked about intuition. I think people I think a lot of these words are kind of jumbled together because like, I'm going to use tarot as an example just because a lot of times, psychics on the street, when you see like the little sandwich board, it'll be like, I'm a psychic. And then you go in and it's just a woman using tarot cards, which is actually makes me feel better because it's like, okay, well, you're not a psychic. You're just using this tool of intuition, which anyone can learn how to use. So do people come in and like think of you as a psychic? Like how do you teach them about like what intuition is and how to tap into their own intuition?
So they don't, it's so good because they don't come in looking for the answers. Well,
Right.
they kind of do,
Yeah.
but we always bring them back to their own innate wisdom.
Yeah.
So we coach the unconscious mind. So 95% is sitting in the unconscious. We're only
that.
5% working with the conscious
So annoying.
mind. Yeah.
It's only the tip of the iceberg is what you think. That's why people come in with a goal that they're like, this is what I want. And you're like, okay.
Well, and how
that's
is that
it.
discovered? Is that based on like, is that what I'll switch on. It's like that would be your department. So like what study is that based on, I guess?
So it's not really based on like any single study. It's a rough estimate, but it's based on like a lot of work from like Freud, Jung, but there's no one single study that can be cited. It's something that's like 95% is like commonly kind of like said in reference, but because we can, like if I put you in a like fMRI machine, like a brain scanner, I couldn't scan your brain and go like, that's the unconscious bit.
Okay.
Right.
So it's a rough estimate that kind of like is typically used as a way to indicate like how much we're not conscious of. So for example, this is probably a better like founded in science kind of example. When we're talking now, the conscious mind is processing around like 40 to 50 bits kind of like per second. So if all of us started to talk at the same time, you would struggle to hear and like decipher out that noise. So
Right.
that's like the limits of your conscious mind. Now, what's actually happening in reality in the unconscious is 11 billion bits are being processed.
Jesus.
So that all stays in the brain. So we think like, so product placement is a great example, right?
Right.
You kind of go like, why would Starbucks or kind of like this brand pay for like their coffee to be placed there? Because no one's really talking about it. Like it's just maybe sitting in front of the character, but the unconscious is still filtering that information. So every habit, every emotion, every memory, every interaction you have ever had, anything your senses has ever like seen, heard, felt, or touched is in the unconscious mind.
Damn.
But you don't process it.
Interesting. Okay.
And people be projecting.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
They
People be
are.
projecting.
That's it.
Sorry, I was like, I'm going to ask a lot of sub questions to like not to keep cutting you off. Okay, so then that's interesting. So then back to what you were saying about intuition. It's also interesting that this is developed based in part by Carl Jung because I found out that he used tarot cards and
Yes.
then he kind of people started making fun of him. So he was like maybe not.
He
as
liked
much.
the tarot.
He did.
No, he liked him, but his like colleagues
Yeah.
were making fun of him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Ahead of his time.
So they come
Slowly.
in and they tap into their intuition and how is
Well, that's it. Because
Yeah.
as Sarah was saying, if it's the 5%, then if
Right.
regular coaching is only working with 5% of
Right.
the conscious mind, with us, we actually work with the 95%. And we do that by deeply dropping a client into their intuition by regulating their nervous system. So you guys all
Somatic,
know there's a
baby.
lot about the body. The body holds everything. So if we're only consciously taking in those parts that Sarah said, think of everything else, every stored memory, every lived experience is there. It's still in there. So, but we need to access that 95%. We can't do that from the conscious mind.
Yeah.
We can't really do that with our eyes open. We found, and we studied this because when our eyes are open, we're looking for cues. So if I'm coaching you, you're like, am I saying this right? Is this right? Does she understand what I'm saying? A lot of the time we go into sort of pleaser, and that sort of default setting that we have. When we ask questions and we have deeply regulated a client's nervous system, they're out of the conscious mind. They're deeply in their body. And so when we ask questions, it's a single word. It's not a long, complex narrative and the emotions attached to that. It's a feeling, it's a sense, a word, an image, metaphors, symbols. And that's deeply working with intuition, working with parts. And we saw the evidence of this rapid transformation that was happening that can't happen with the eyes open and the distractions around us.
Totally. One of my missions in this world is to like prove to people or to show people that they are so powerful. I'm like, if you knew how powerful you were, you wouldn't believe it. Your mind would be blown and you would never look for these outside things. And something that Corinne and I have talked about with regards to intuition that I found to be so fascinating and surprising at first is that it's super subtle. And so it's not the thought going, hey, look at me, this is I'm freaking out. That's not your intuition. It's this like deep, like comforting nudge almost. And it's like, you have to be, your nervous system has to be grounded to even access, to be able to hear that or feel that.
Yeah, it does. Like intuition is always present, but it's not always perceived. You know, it's just below the threshold of consciousness. And I think, you know, typically when we think about intuition, we think about the strong intuitive nudge that comes through, right? About a person, a place, a decision. So like you might walk in somewhere, you might meet someone for the first time and there's just something that's off and you can't like put your finger on it.
Yeah.
And then like logic comes in and say you talk yourself out of that. You're like, no, it's fine. They're okay. And you start to kind of like make a story up about like your feeling and why it's unjustified. Like how many times when you've gone against your gut, like how well has that worked out for us? Like rarely. So, but that is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to intuition. It actually is like your deepest healing power. It's your voice of authenticity because intuition's memory, like Frances Vaughan, who's kind of in like the Jungian kind of circle, like when she's looked at intuition, she called it like the memory of the truth. Like that's how she talked about it. It's the memory of the truth because intuition's memory is untainted by societal expectations. It's untainted by your childhood conditions. It's the voice that reminds you who you were before the world told you who you should be. So when you listen to that intelligence, that intuitive intelligence, and you work, it ushers like the unconscious into the conscious mind. And Carl Jung famously said, you know, until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct our life and we will call it fate.
I love that. It was one of my favorite quotes.
Same.
It's a lot of like in a politically in a
right?
in a society now filled with so much turmoil and there's so much yelling and there's so much and you know it's such a bummer to see people just be hateful, be racist, be anti-LGBT, like just be anti-human being to others. It's just like it's super heartbreaking. But I do try to take a step back and go, they are living from their subconscious. They are not. They're just projecting self-hate to people.
Exactly. And like and that plays a role in society, right? Like it's kind of
because they're the loudest, which
they're
sucks,
the loudest. Like, you know, like people like we all pit each other against each other. But when you come back, to your intuition, like when you really listen to it, when you understand it, it really is your superpower.
And it's so comforting too.
And it never takes you down the wrong path.
Right.
I think that's the thing, we don't trust it, but it never ever takes you down the wrong path. However, it may mean having to have difficult conversations. It may mean needing to leave that relationship now that no longer serves you, having boundaries. And that is scary. So a lot of the time before intuition, I think you said it earlier, that's not intuition. And I wanted to say that's fear. Yeah. So before intuition, fear is there. But when we can sit in the discomfort of fear, which is an emotion, right? It's the same as every other emotion, but we label it good, bad, don't want it. Actually, to sit with the discomfort of fear and know that you can be with that emotion and simply using the breath.
Yeah.
With conscious intent, not letting it hijack the mind, right? When we drop in what is sitting underneath fear and allowing intuition to show you it's a word, it's a symbol, okay? It's resistance. Okay, so what's underneath resistance? More fear. Okay, and we sit with that. Okay, what's underneath? More fear. Dark. What's underneath dark? Light. Okay, what's underneath light? Me. Okay, what's underneath me? Space. When we can sit with that and learn to unlayer those parts rather than acting from a place of fear and then that projection, because you guys were mentioning this, right? There's so much noise. I have to often actually go into a quiet room and be like, and ask myself, what do I need? What do I need? That simple question. It's something that we can all do just in those moments of, 3 conscious, deep breaths, breathing into the body, placing the hand on the heart space, opening the heart up, asking the heart, what do I need right now? Like for me, it will always give me what I need. It will be that answer. And it's just taking that pause, the power in the pause to get present and just let that noise move out and really drop back into self. How does this feel for me?
Yeah, it's life-changing. I've started to do transcendental meditation. I got a mantra years ago, and I'm like 20 minutes twice a day. I don't know. Just because I was terrified of sitting still. And I actually come to the studio during the week, and I do it. I turn the lights off. I put my noise-canceling headphones in, and it's like a bath for your brain and your body. It's the most incredible... You feel so much better afterwards. And it's like, I'm not a religion. I grew up with no religion, but this concept of God, of the universe, whatever, like that's what you get to meet and like be acquainted with when you slow down. And I'm sure you guys have talked about this, but it's so interesting. People are addicted to their own stress hormones. Yeah. And I see that. I grew up with a mother who was addicted to her own stress, and she just wanted to get ramped up. And I just see it so plentiful now. Do you ever have clients come in that you suspect could be addicted to their own stress? It seems like a pretty common thing.
Almost always.
How do you get over that?
How do you diagnose that someone is like? How do you diagnose someone being addicted to their own stress hormones first and foremost?
Because most people are. Yeah. Most people are purely because it's the familiar. So the unconscious loves the familiar and it hates the unknown. Like it absolutely hates it. Our bodies are terrified. So normally when someone comes, they're working towards something, which means there's the absence of something. So like when they're trying to like maybe leave a toxic relationship, or maybe like they don't like their job, or like, they've completely lost themselves through like pleasing, performing, perfecting. There is an unconscious payoff for that. They get something from that. And it's normally like the rush of kind of the stress hormones. It's normally the feeling of like, I know who I need to be. So I'll use myself as an example. I grew up in like a really chaotic household with a mother, like probably similar to yours. And I couldn't like regulate my nervous system like at all. But I loved crisis. Like you put me.
If there's someone needs to call 911 call about
I'm your person, right? Yeah. I am your person. Like so, and it doesn't make sense, right? Because you would think, oh, why would you want drama and crisis around you? But I know who to be there. Like I can center myself, I can solve it. You can rely on me. I've got a purpose. I've got a role. What terrified me, and again, I wasn't conscious of it, because you would think, well, everyone wants peace, everyone's calm, everyone's kind of like happiness, stability. That felt boring to me. It felt unattractive. It felt like purposeless. Like stress connected me with people. And what I realized was like through kind of like doing the work was like I bonded with my mum when I was in stress and she was in stress. It brought us closer together. Like it gave me a sense of love and belonging. And actually when I started to remove myself from that, it was like calm and inner peace feels deeply unsafe for me. And I've had to like increase my capacity to hold it like gently and for my nervous system to kind of like relax. But it's like we live in these little cages. It's like, a dog that's like kind of being abused, and it lives in a cage and you open the door and it wants to stay in the cage. It doesn't want to go out. Like it knows the cage is safe. It's exactly the same for us. We create these cages, these guardrails about this is how much I get in life. This is all that I'm kind of like used to. Yeah. Our nervous systems are conditioned to live and respond a certain way. And even though we consciously want it, unconsciously, the unconscious mind will pull you always in the opposite direction, which is why we have these conversations with ourselves about, I really want to do this, but I see myself doing the opposite.
Yeah. And I think we don't have the awareness of it though, until we have the awareness of it. Sarah gave that example for me in relationships. I was brought up by a single mum, really strong woman, my sister and I saw that as such a badge of honor. Like, I don't take shit off any men. I've never been hurt in a relationship before. And every relationship after a few years, I would be like, they would start showing up in a certain way, trying to maybe put me down, keep me small, make comments. And when that happened, I was like, exit.
Wow.
Exit.
That's nice.
So that felt really good. So that really fed my narrative of, I don't take shit off men. I'm really, really strong. And this happened like 4 or 5 big relationships. And I worked with a coach and she called me a frog farmer. And she went, well, you're what I would call a frog farmer. And I was like, what? And she's like, well, you turn princes into frogs. I was like, I can assure you right now, none of those were princes. They were actually trying to put me down, keep me small. And they actually were projecting that to me. But she said, but the common denominator is you.
Right.
And I was like, what? I really was like, I was like, what are you talking about? That I was so not conscious of this, but I respected it. I thought, okay, I'll hear what she's going to say, right? So she started to say, the guys start the relationship, they want to do things for you, but you're so independent that it's this wall that is up. It's like, I don't need you. She would say, like, do you ever cry in front of your partner? Now, I've been with my current partner for nearly 17 years. We've got 2 kids together. She's like, do you ever cry in front of your partner? I'm like, nope.
Oh.
And I was like, the thought of being vulnerable to my partner made my absolute skin crawl, right? To cry and, will you help me? Oh, I was just like, I can't. And my sister was exactly the same. So in that moment, that became conscious. Like, I was unconscious of it. It got brought into my awareness, and I was like, okay, these people did show up like that. They weren't for me, but if I don't repair this now, I'm going to end the relationship with my partner, who I love dearly. He's an amazing dad, and I'm going to go into the next relationship doing the same thing again. Yeah. So knowing, again, I wasn't aware of it in all those years, and I'd done a lot of work on myself, but she called me out, and I thought, that's it. But the thing is, I deeply, deeply didn't feel safe to receive love. And again, I didn't know that. So regular coaching, working with someone that wasn't working with intuition, I would never have got to realise in that moment that I didn't feel safe to receive love, because the first male in my life rejected me when I was born.
Right.
So it's like, men aren't safe.
Right.
And it's not
and
safe.
we make these agreements.
Yeah, for sure.
Ironclad.
But I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And if you'd asked me that, and I was pretty switched on, I'd be like, no, because I've got great relationships with men. I got on with guys, great banter. I didn't feel unsafe on a conscious level around men. But that deep, and it was one word, it was love is, when I dropped in love is, not safe. And I was like, whoa. And then the tears came and the emotion came. Wow, that was deeply a moment of, okay, so how do I take personal responsibility for that and create enough safety for myself and not rely on a partner to make me feel safe?
Great question.
Yeah.
How did you?
Yeah.
Because we play out these dynamics of romantic relationships,
sure.
I think is so common. Is where I'm trying to heal an old wound from mom with you.
Yeah,
and then you name it. Naming it is crazy. That journey to naming it, somebody either calls it out, a partner calls it out, or you realize it, but then after that is so much more work to do.
That's the start of it, right? And it's those parts of being able to go into the real pain and discomfort of, okay, I don't feel safe, and allowing those tears and those emotions to move through my body. And then came anger.
Yeah.
And again, if I'd been in my head, I've been like, oh, I'm angry, and there had to be a story around it where it was, I feel anger and I'm going to grab this pillow and I'm going to really scream, and I'm so angry. I didn't need to know why. I just needed to move it through. I just needed to move it through. It was, okay, I'm angry, fine. Rather than, okay, I'm angry because this thing happened to me. Yeah, it might have, but then I'm back in the head again.
Right.
And I go in a loop and I play the story out again and again. Whereas with us, it's like, how do we just create enough safety and capacity for you to know that, like, our heart, underneath it all, without sounding so cheesy, and like, underneath it all, when we get underneath fear, shame, all of it is love. It really is. When we unlayer it, we've seen this hundreds of times with clients. That beautiful moment where it's like, shame, okay, go to shame, be with it, and breathe with it and feel it, move the body, whatever, the body will show you what it needs. And then after that is, okay, it's love, and breathe with that. It's like, I can be my medicine here without having to outsource and take substances. And then we change the narrative and we create that space. When we move that energy through and out of the body, there's suddenly space created to start to have healthy relationships and healthy conversations. And
Wow, that's so powerful. Do you have like an example of a client in the past that like came in one state and then left in another that blows you guys out of the water, like that you think of?
We have a lot, and we get emailed kind of like, because we train coaches now, and we get like direct messages on Instagram or emails all of the time from their clients going like, thank you for kind of doing this work. And just to give an example of like how powerful it is, Like we do these inner journeys, we call them, like at festivals. So we'll go and we'll share a bit of the psychology, and then we guide people through an inner journey. And that inner journey is normally around like 45 minutes. So it's like a universal kind of experience. And even in those 45 minutes, we'll have people that will come to us and say, like, I have been like searching for this answer for so long, and now it's just suddenly there. And like you said, when you name it, it pattern interrupts that repetition compulsion that we have. You know, that like it's a term psychologists use, where we just replay out the same scenario like over and over again. So we've had people who have struggled with like receiving love and haven't been able to fully receive love, and have been in like the depths of like, you know, I can't even like meet a person, I can't put myself in the vulnerable position to even date, who have now gone on to like meet their partners and have like a really healthy relationship. We have people who have done a lot of inner child work, which I think is like massive. And again, that's a technique that we train in, who have carried kind of the unconscious baggage of like their parents, their caregivers, you know, all of those unmet needs, and they have searched for it. So high performers is like a particular kind of like group of people that we tend to attract. So like really ambitious kind of clients who are looking for the answer, but they have pleased, performed, perfected. Like ambition has kind of been their tool to protect from their vulnerability of like, look, everything on the outside looks absolutely great. Like here's all my status, here's all my signs and symbols that I am not broken. I am not broken, but underneath that is normally like, I don't feel good enough. Like, and so I need all of that to void. And so not removing that ambition for them, but to see women in particular really step into their full capacity and like have like a healthy ambition and want to make the difference and to take up space in the world without self-sabotaging or like over apologizing for themselves. Like that is just incredible to witness, like a supportive kind of like collaborative community of like women who are just there to kind of like make the difference that they know that they can, but without that burnout.
No, I love what you said about high performers, because I was thinking about the Carl Jung quote that you talked about before. I'm gonna misquote it a little bit, but basically like who you were before the world told you who you should be. I think we see that a lot with people in the public eye. I know for me specifically, like it's not before who the world told me I should be. I would rephrase it for me personally as like who the world told me they thought I am. You know, and I feel like, so like, if you're working with these high performers, I'm guessing you're working with some people in the public eye. I'm like just very obsessed with fame and how it affects people mentally. I think it's like there's almost no way for it really to be healthy. I mean, we see this, you know, being in the public eye myself has completely changed the way that I talk about or approach celebrities. I'm talking about like, you know, huge ones like Justin Bieber, you know, is a great example of someone who I think is really struggling with it, especially because he was, you know, famous since he was a child. Do you have any like tactics on how to like approach greatness without getting the tarnish of other people's nonsense on you? Because I really feel before I was in the public eye, which was like my life up until 30, that's a pretty long amount of time to go through that. I feel like everything was like pretty great. And nothing has served me less than having so much outside noise about me transmitted back to me. Like it's not worth it. Really.
But you still want to be great.
I want to be great, and like I set out to be famous unabashedly. I just want to be famous, and like I mean, like I want to with complexity, but I don't even pretend that I don't anymore. I think there's something that people think is like shallow about that, but I actually love Andy Warhol because he was just like straight up, I want to be famous.
I love that.
And I was like, good for you, because me too. You know, but it's very, especially with social media being this extra layer that was not like, it wasn't part of the deal when I decided I wanted to be famous as a child. But now it is. So unless you're like a movie stars don't really need to be on social media.
For sure. And it's like anyone can say anything about you, right?
Right. How do you protect yourself from that?
And it's a great question. And we've had quite a few people in the public eye come and train with us and do our training because it really allows them that space to go, right, okay, Because they're so used to having the external validation. This means I'm worthy. This means I'm good enough, like actors and so on. The simple answer for me, I think we could go into it, but the more time you really understand yourself on the deepest level, and I mean, we can know ourselves, but to really go in and be with discomfort and be with those parts of our greatness and our truth and our essence and our authenticity, I think we do. I'm not saying you won't care, but I think you do care less about it, because if someone's throwing shit at you, sorry for Sweden.
Oh, no, you call guys fucked.
Yeah.
Say whatever you want.
If people are throwing shit your way, it's like, so, like, I know who I am.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think sometimes when there's parts, it's like, oh, I want to justify this and I want to say that's not true and I want to say this and that. Actually, the deeper we can connect to essence, it doesn't touch the sides as much. I'm not saying it doesn't at all, but we have definitely witnessed this. I mean, I've coached quite a few celebrities and athletes and things like that, so I totally understand it. But the biggest transformation I saw was when they came to train with us, because, like, I'm taking Sarah Jane Dunn, for example. She has now paved the way in her absolute, and she is like magnetism for everything that she deeply desires in her life.
Wow.
This strong woman, totally in her power. Whereas before, you know, she was a well-known actress and she was silenced a lot, wasn't allowed to say, she had to filter what I say. I can only say this and I can't say that. And the minute she sat with her discomfort and really came back to what is so important to me and how can I be with that and step into that and lean into that. And it's not always easy, but it doesn't touch the side as much. In fact, she's grown
She
as a
really
human
has.
being and her opportunities.
Yeah. I think it's that. I think it's like the discomfort. And I also think it's like the why. It's got to be something bigger than you. Like, you know, so what you stand for. So like whether that is like, you know, I want to pave the way to show that other women can do this, or I want to be famous so that I can use my voice in a positive way. Like when you have that bigger sense and deeper meaning and your actions align with that, then that's whenever like you get into harmony and like everything flows. Because then it doesn't really matter so much like what the other person says, because your purpose is bigger than that. And it has to be separate from you in a way, because if you're looking for the external world to kind of validate you, then you have that dopamine addiction, right? I mean, we all get that. Like we're all looking for the next hit, like the viral post, the post that gets like the podcast that everybody engages with. Like we love that. Like it's that validation of what I'm doing is right. But when you can kind of like, it's a yes and, like you get to have that, but also how do you meet that need for yourself?
Right.
Like how do you meet that need for yourself? How do you kind of go like, and I know it is like, it's like a cheesy kind of quote, but how do you enjoy the journey? Like how do you go, this is it? Like where I am right now in a studio recording a podcast in New York that people are listening to, this is the journey. Like this is absolutely incredible. How do you let like your conscious awareness be flooded with like, you are the person that you're becoming, as opposed to being obsessed with like the destination? It's like, this is it. Like life is short and it's hard and it's difficult, but like just embrace all parts. And working with intuition brings us back to that trust, because when the past makes sense, right, and the future is compelling, that's whenever you're able to be like deeply present, because you know, like no matter what comes in the future, the troll that attacks me, you know, like the person that doesn't like what I do, I trust that I can handle those emotions. I trust that I'm okay with that. I trust that I've got me like through that. And then that kind of like is what enables you to like go forward. I think like life is a messy mix. We need to get out of this absolute bullshit of like, it's all kind of like, you're going to manifest your dream life and like nothing bad's ever going to happen to you. Like, no, that's not true.
Life will give you heartache after heartache, and then this exciting miracle after exciting miracle. It's crazy. The ups and downs, crazy, but they don't stop. But it's like when you have this beautiful relationship with yourself and you're like in love with yourself and you feel safe in that intuition. It's like whatever you throw at me, okay, let's figure this out. Like there's a lesson in it. And it's so much like I've had so many moments in my life where I've been able to connect with my intuition for like the first time. And it's so funny because you think of like, we were talking earlier about replaying a toxic parent role in a romantic relationship. And there's something about that feels cancerously good.
Oh yeah.
It feels like a it feels, but you know it's bad. It's a good it's a bad good. It's very interesting. And I had a conversation with my partner not that long ago. We were fighting and I named it. I don't know how it came out of me, but I was so thankful that it did. I'm like, I'm trying to make you love me because if I can get you to love me the way I want you to, then maybe I can fix that.
Exactly.
That's it.
And then I said it and I was like, and he goes, well, that was honest. I'm like, oh my God, that was great. But I completely changed after that. And there was no trying. That click made me relax. I didn't have to fight.
I love that you've said that, because this is what we notice when we work with intuition is the self spontaneously arises. It just goes, and then it's like, it's gone. Like, and all of that stuff, like it's just like, you name it, somehow it's tamed. You're flooded with the awareness of like, this doesn't serve me. And then it's like, wow, that pattern that I have been completely addicted to, now all of a sudden, like, it's safe to step back.
It's not appealing anymore.
Yeah, you don't have to consciously override it. It's not like every day you have to wake up and go, okay, I'm not going to. It's just like when that deep kind of moment, it is like a miracle. It just is like, boom, it's in your body is like flooded with the awareness. And then you can't unsee that again. Like you know, it's like there's no kind of going back. Like life is now different because that's in your awareness.
Yeah. What other techniques do you have that you can give people just in their everyday lives to just connect with themselves? It's such a big task to connect with yourself.
Yeah, there are so many. So we have, like Sarah's mentioned before, we have like a suite of 34 techniques, but we probably have so many more, don't we?
Yeah.
I think keeping it really simple for people. Don't overcomplicate it. The power is in the presence. And for some people to sit for even 30 seconds is really challenging, and it's really triggering for a lot of people just to even sit in stillness, because some people will come in and put TV on, put music on. They don't want to sit with their thoughts and feelings. They want to keep busy. But actually having conscious intent, I think intention is important. Mm-hmm. So even if you're busy and you're like, actually, I'm going to make a cup of coffee or my tea or whatever it is in the morning, I think the morning is important because we're in that sort of dreamlike state, and I think we haven't allowed all of the external world to flood out unless you're picking up your phone, which I highly do not recommend we do that, right? Yeah. But it is like, how can I sit up in the morning and just put an intention behind breathing just for a few minutes? And it doesn't need to be a big, deep breathwork session. These are amazing. We love them. Massive fans of it, right? We do this work. But to start, just how do you feel? How do I feel right now? Okay, I feel a little bit emotional, feel a little bit overwhelmed. Okay, I'm just going to breathe with that. And just those deep breaths, just not to force anything, not to rush through anything, just to almost, I like to imagine it like my breath is meeting my heart, like for the first time, or my body, and it's just flooding my body with, this magical elixir of energy and new fresh life force. And it's just a few minutes of how do I feel? And often it is that practice. And, you might get something straight away, you might get nothing, but over time, it's like exercising a muscle just to be with that part. Sometimes I'll sit and I don't get in my head with it, but I'll breathe. And if there's an emotion there, I'll just sort of intuitively tap part of my body. And sometimes tears will come. I don't need to know what that is. Whereas years ago, I'd be like, oh, I'm depressed. Why am I crying? It's first thing in the morning. I'm weird. Getting in a story. It's like, I'm just going to move this through. And just then, and sometimes I'll just smile or laugh. But I think having that intention just to be present with however you feel in that moment, that is the magic, rather than trying to fix or change or outsource. And so back to that question, I know it was a kind of long-winded answer, but breathe, don't rush anything. Just know that you are your medicine. And if we are consistently looking for someone to give us the answer to whatever we perceive as our problem, then we're constantly going to be chasing something or needing a hit of something. You know more than anyone what you need.
Yeah.
Anyone. Like no one, not a single person has ever walked a day in your life.
Right.
They haven't had your lived experience. Even the best coaches in the world, we love what we do. But the reason we love intuition is so much is because, yes, we train people in this work, but when they do this work, every single individual that does it has a completely different experience.
That's cool.
It's as unique as your thumbprint. We could take you through something absolutely the same. you would both have something completely different, because your intuition is so unique to you, and that is why it's so powerful, because it's this wisdom, it's this thing that's only yours and no one else's, but it's got the answers and it will never take you down the wrong path. And so more of a connection to your intuition is the way.
Yeah, and even like simple questions like, you know, in the morning when you kind of breathe, you can just ask yourself like, what do I need today? Now, if you get something like food or coffee, like you probably need to go a little bit deeper, you know, but like it might be like, I need space, or I need time, or I need like, you know,
rest,
trust,
like, fun, play.
And that's a lovely exercise, because again, like, you know, it gets you off that like unconscious loop, because those feelings and those needs are there, but then they'll direct your attention sometimes in like, you know, in unhealthy ways, because you'll try to meet that need externally. But when you're like, okay, actually, I just kind of need to slow down, I need a bit more time. And if that feels a bit hard, like closing down your eyes, journaling is a really great way to access your intuition. Like, I don't know if you've ever journaled and kind of like did the free writing, and then you get like these downloads when you're like, it's almost like this out of body experience. You're like, where did that come from?
Journaling is like kind of otherworldly. And I wish less people would sleep on it, because I'm like, it sounds so basic, but like if you keep the artist's way, her whole thing is 3 pages in the morning. That's it. It's going to be shit the first couple days or weeks. And then you're going to get to stuff that is a treasure trove.
Sure.
And that's your intuition, because when you write like that, again, you are moving out of the conscious mind, you know, so you kind of like have to like wade through the crap that's just sitting there. And then you start to get like those unconscious downloads, like those real intuitive hits, like those creative ideas. And we know that like creativity and intuition are really intrinsically linked together.
Yeah.
So like that is so beautiful to start with that. We actually have like a question method that we can share. We can give like the link. It's like 22 questions that we normally use like with our coaches. So like if you're listening to this and you want to try it, but you're like, I don't really know what to start or what to ask myself, there's some really good questions, like some prompts that you can start to move and write with.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
When someone says that they want to be an intuitive coach and hits you guys up, what's the process like to make sure that they're
not one of the people from our high school reunion?
Not somebody
We're stressed.
Guys, I'm a coach now.
What's the vetting process? And not even just vetting like to make sure they're safe, but I think, you know, how do you know someone's going to be good at this? Does everyone have the potential to be good at this?
Yeah, we trust our intuition.
We trust our intuition a lot. Yeah, we do.
You're not coming in.
We do. So we actually only, for the Masters, which is the Master Intuitive Psychology Coach Program, we only take 2 intakes a year, and we cap it at 25, like per one.
Love that.
And we take all of the calls. So like no one, like if you book a call with us,
it's not a team,
it's us.
Right.
And you have to fill in an application form, and we really understand the person, like their motivations, like if they've done their work, because it's so important that they have to be the embodiment of this.
Yes.
Like they cannot bring their projections and their crap like into a session. So when they come and train with us, they have to be coached during those 6 months, and they have to go deep into that work so that they're clearing their stuff, so that they're not unconsciously, you know, sabotaging or projecting on a client. Like you need that really safe space. So yes, we literally sit down with every single person that trains with us. We make sure that they're right, because unfortunately, like this work does attract some
multi-level marketing schemes.
Yes, exactly.
That's the opposite of us. The opposite. I feel like, as you know, as we said, the 25 is the absolute maximum. Yeah. Because we see everyone, like for our coaches, and we're really proud of that. Like it is a beautiful community of people and I think when you are the embodiment of this work, you can't unsee it. So it's like, how do we really bring people back? Our goal with every client, when they're working with a client, you know, when you used to have the wheel of life, like money, finance, relationships, and all of that, ours is completely we turn that on its head, and it's how do we bring someone back to essence, to authenticity. So the goal is when you're working with your client, are you bringing them back to the true essence of who they are, rather than I want to achieve? And because as a byproduct, when they do that, they achieve it. And So we're so fortunate because our coaches
they're incredible. They're incredible, and they're highly ethical. They're highly ethical. And actually all of our coaches have the same intention, which is how do they work with a client until they don't need them. It's not about like having a coach for, 5 years every single day. You've got to see that person because you rely on them for your decision making. Exactly. It's like, how do you work? Like with our coaches, we're always training them. How do you work with a client until they trust themselves enough that they don't need you? And they only come back to you at the crisis points or like when they kind of need that little bit, like that ongoing relationship is good. But the whole point is to trust yourself.
Yeah. Do you have examples of inner child work that you give people, like exercises or homework? I'm just curious what your inner child work curriculum consists of.
Yeah, there is a full module. So, and we have 12 modules. And within each module, we usually have a few different trainings and techniques. With inner child, it's a full module on its own.
Yeah.
And it is deep and it is very, very powerful, but it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, again, we always say this to our coaches when we're training them, you must spend a lot of time regulating the nervous system and really creating so much safety for that client when we go in and we start to meet the inner child. Because there's a lot, even on YouTube, right? There's a lot of things that you can go in and do inner child work. And if you don't know what you're going to uncover.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel like Sarah and I are really passionate about this, and it's the same sometimes when you do breathwork sessions. You're like, right, back out into the street after a breathwork session. You're like, whoa, I've just saw this and this thing happened from my childhood and it's just come to light. And then what? So for us, it's like we must spend so much time with inner child and the training and how they meet that. But again, it's reparenting. So there's a lot of reparenting with the inner child, creating so much safety, listening to the inner child, listening to those parts that were maybe unseen, unheard.
Yeah.
What does the inner child need? But also taking that inner child on that journey with you now. Like, let me show you.
You're safe now.
You're safe now. But we do. We're quite strict with the old inner child work.
We do a lot. And it's like everything, when you're working with the unconscious, so even if you're doing like inner child work by yourself at home, it all comes down to the intention. So like your unconscious is this like vast storehouse of like every lived memory, every experience. So if you kind of imagine like a big storehouse, if you just go in and like just start rummaging around in there, like you could pull out anything.
Yeah.
But if you really have the intention of like, okay, like why am I doing inner child work? What is it that I want to understand? Like what's my intention? That becomes kind of like your North Star, like your guiding light, so that you can go into that storehouse and actually intuition will show you the thing that kind of like you need, like that specific thing, rather than rummaging about. But there's lots of different ways to do it. Again, journaling is like really, really powerful, like sitting with your inner child, imagining, connecting. But I think one thing that like is really, really powerful is the acceptance. I think so often when we go into these techniques, it's like you want to release or surrender. Like, I release you, you need to be gone now. But you just orphan those parts all over again, and it's like, we'll often say like in inner child work, like when you kind of like have it, it's like, I'm here and I will listen for as long as you need me. For as long as you need me, I am here and you will be heard. And that just changes the dynamic because we're like a symphony of selves. Like we've got so many different parts at play, and the whole object of this work, of any work that we do, is to bring them into harmony. Like there's no bad part, there's no monster underneath there, but there's just little parts that have the microphone too much and are kind of like directing the ship a bit too much, and they're young, they're like 3 years old and they're making like decisions in your 40-year-old body, and it's not helpful. So like there's lots of different ways, but I would say like really be clear on the intention. Like what is it that you're going in there looking for?
Yeah. I think too, for the longest time for me, I thought inner child work was like, I have to connect with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old Krystyna. But as I grow older, I'm like, 11-year-old through 14. That was the most fucked up one.
That's mine. My little teenager loves,
Oh my God. And it's like, it's the same thing, but you have to you have to tend to that like super powerfully. Do you guys ever do hypnosis with clients, or recommend it, or do you know?
We don't. You
what do you
can't
think of that?
You can do it.
It's similar.
It's similar because you're in the same way of state.
Yeah, because I did hypnosis once, and I was just kind of shocked because I uncovered these memories that were, on paper pretty traumatic. No feelings about them though, and it just came really quick, and I didn't even think. And I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And that was the closest I've ever been to like watching my unconscious go, here's the list of things we got. I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's very similar, like the state. We have this technique and it's called deep intuitive trust, and that's like dropping you in almost to a similar state as what hypnosis would be. And then you're asking the client questions like from that place. And so it's like this rush of awareness, because intuition is like, you know, your whole brain is kind of on fire. It processes faster than logic. So you just get in these sudden flashes, like, you know, metaphor symbols, like the tarot cards are a perfect example. Do you know, like you look at something and it's like there's a sword and there's a field in the distance and there's this, and then you bring your own interpretation to that. Like it's very similar. People will go in and they'll be like, oh my goodness, like I see this kind of like sea and I'm on the boat and it's like rocky, and then it's like, what does that mean? And they're, you know, the unconscious speaks. It's an emotional memory. It doesn't have a lot of language and it's a lot of information to hold. But what's beautiful about intuition is it's not re-traumatizing, because you're not going back to the memory and replaying it. It's kind of delivering it in like the most safest way that you get that immediate, I know exactly what that means.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. That's incredible. Very powerful.
And I think one of the last things, we get a lot of emails, and I've seen a surge in it in the past, I don't know, couple of years, of like people being like, writing us an email, for example, about a guy who they obviously shouldn't be with, but they see signs that they should be together. Or like there's a lot of like, I don't know how this came out. I guess part of it is social media, the resurgence of like wellness, new age spirituality. And it's like, it particularly annoys me because like I've been like doing this stuff since I was like 12 years old, but I never stopped. And then everyone's like misusing it, and then also completely going down the wrong direction for their life. Like I'll get DMs constantly about like a real world problem that can be tackled with real world solutions, and they will, I'm not shitting you, grown adult women asking me for a spell to fix it.
What?
And now while I say like I'm not gonna have a spell. You could do a spell, because the spell to me is just a ritual. It's found in any major religion, right?
Absolutely.
That's praying, a spell, all the same thing to me. It's just a different way, different person or whatever you're speaking to. But to try and actually solve something only by using a spell, like if someone said, "Oh, it's like I'm gonna pray about it," but then not doing anything in real world, these are the same people who would mock them. So why is this acceptable? How do we get past this? My hands are in the air. I don't know what to do anymore. And I couldn't be more clear about how I do not condone this, yet the DMs still keep coming.
Wild.
Like, I don't...
Why do you think the DMs keep coming to you, though? It's almost like...
I think people think I'm, like, messing around when I say that it's, like, not a good idea. I don't know. But I'll listen back to episodes of the show and be like, well, maybe I misspoke and maybe I didn't. And every time I said exactly what I meant to say. And then people hear something else.
Yeah. They do be doing that.
And I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure how to get around it. And I'm concerned.
Yeah. Well, maybe they're coming to you actually because you are speaking it out, and part of them in their unconscious knows that these signs are kind of like a load of crap, basically. And they kind of come to you as the person who might actually call them out on it and give them the thing that they need.
A lot of people do. They say I'm mean.
Well, in our emails, people will tell us, people will email us about some stuff that I'm like, damn, you just said that, and you didn't, and then you read it and you press send, and you're like, I feel good about that. Wow, man. Yeah. But it's because they know deep down, they know the answer.
Yeah.
But they want to hear us roast them, which I think is fucking fantastic, by the way, because it's like, yeah, that's to me, that's an example of your subconscious mind getting the thing that it needs. Like,
Exactly.
you're not going to get this on your own, so I'm going to make you get it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they want the roast. They do and they don't. It's like, how do you say this to me? But actually, it gives them, it meets a need.
Yeah.
Everything is that unmet need, isn't it? Underneath it all, it's like, actually, okay, I'm projecting this, or I'm playing out this pattern over and over again, but what is the unmet need? What do you need? What are you looking for underneath that? And they're looking for attention. A lot of the time, it's attention.
Yeah.
It's be as wild and crazy as possible, but I need you to validate me, to give me attention, to meet that need for me, because it's like that little child.
Right.
It's like, see me,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like they slide into your DMs, Corinne, because you have this, you're more, I'm like, hi. And you're more like, kind of behind the wave. And I think that anybody with this unconscious mission to get attention from people that don't freely give it, that's gonna go to you.
Well, I mean, that's like,
Story of your life.
dating 101.
Yeah.
How do you get a date? Tell everyone that you don't want one. And really mean it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Men really like
so
that.
annoying.
Yeah.
I have a question. I would like to end, if you don't mind, from everybody here, I would love to know, what is something you wish, we as we grow older, we realize school didn't teach us shit. And there's so many valuable lessons that the youth could have been so much well equipped to handle their life if they knew these things. One of the things that I have that I always that I'm like, oh, I wish I knew this, is that healing yourself can be very painful, but that doesn't mean you quit. Yeah. Getting to know yourself, and like you were saying earlier, Jill, you're attracting these partners, and then they would end up tearing you down, and then your coach called you out, and you're like, no, wait, that's not what the fuck are you talking about? But then really taking it in that she was right is like heartbreaking in a way. So I wish that people would know to not stop at the signs of it not feeling good. Like, what is something you just wish everybody would know? Like knowledge that you wish you could arm the world with.
Because we're not taught at school, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about this earlier, like communication.
Yeah.
How to communicate our needs. I feel like if there was enough safety created to communicate our needs, there would be less cheating, less separation, less conflict, less war. Yeah. Because everything is like, and a lot of the time we take on other people's things. Like when you were saying that I'm supposed to be like this, well, actually, do you really feel that? Is that your thing, or are you just listening to everyone else? But it is that, how do we communicate effectively and safely? We spent quite a bit of time talking about that yesterday.
I think it's so vulnerable to ask for what you need, for someone, and to kind of admit that. I think for me it would be just to tear up the good girl rule book. I think I spent so much of my life kind of being I've got to please other people, I've got to perform, I've got to perfect. And if I do all of those things, then I will belong and I will fit in, and, society will love me, and I'll be kind of all good. And actually all it did was just cripple and crush me. It really did. I tried to control so much of life because I feared, I deeply feared any form of discomfort. I thought if I fail or something goes wrong in my life, that's me. It means because I'm bad, because I've done something wrong, as opposed to just accepting life is highs and lows. You can't avoid them, but my God, if you put yourself in a tiny little box, you don't really live and you don't really feel. It's everything is welcome in life. How do you get yourself out of that cage and just run? And just run and be free?
Totally. What is something you wish people?
I mean, I'm not. My first thought was I would wish we could teach the ability to critically think.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because I just think that a lot of school, especially in the States, is regurgitation. And I remember even in English class, studying great literature, and there was only one answer on what the author was trying to tell you. And first of all, I remember being in 6th grade, being like, did you talk to Charles Dickens? I didn't even know that, number one. And number two, now being an artist, and Rick Rubin co-signs this, not that we needed his co-sign, but art, once you release it into the world, it's kind of free to be interpreted by anyone who intakes it however they want. So I still disagree with my 6th grade teacher that there was one way to interpret Wuthering Heights. I don't think that you can be wrong. And I think that just trains people to be followers, not leaders. And obviously some people need to be followers and some people need to be leaders. I think some people are very comfortable being followers. Yeah. And that's great. But I think a lot of people are trained to be followers who would make great leaders if they were given the space to do so. Women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agree. Agree fully.
What's yours?
I wish that people would know that healing can really hurt. Yeah, diving into yourself and getting to know yourself can be heartbreaking, but that's not a road. That's not a sign to turn around and stop doing it.
No, it's closer to your truth, right?
Yeah,
and that's it. Everyone wants to go home at night and feel like they've got a deep connection to themselves, that they trust themselves, but we don't get that when we're constantly outsourcing and pleasing and doing things that are misaligned.
Yeah.
It is painful sometimes to come back to that, because actually it question mark over a lot of relationships, right? A lot of things that we've had in our life, but it is, you know, what's that saying? Everyone wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die. So
right.
true,
Yeah.
But it's like, well, sometimes we need to have those little, you know, letting goes and deaths of parts of ourselves that we're not really deeply aligned.
100%.
Well, we might all have the opportunity. I mean, the rapture's coming this week.
Woo! Oh yeah, tomorrow, right?
It's like the 23rd through 24th. It'd be,
it's a long rapture.
Well, it could come anytime. We don't know. It kind of does sound like the aliens. It basically sounds like getting like Jesus is abducting you, alien style.
Oh my God, I wish.
Like, I didn't do the biggest understand what it was, and I was like, and then I was, when I read what the rapture supposedly is, it's basically just like you just disappear one day if you're one of the best Christians and you go hang out with Jesus. I didn't know that.
That's not
but
me.
now I know.
I did not know that.
You guys are our last guest.
Yay!
What a bang.
Well, we're here
See
till the
you, Jesus.
24th, so you never know.
Where can we get more of you? Where can we get more of your brain? Where can we seek your services? Where can we find more of your content?
Yeah. So you can connect with us on Instagram, and it is at we.r.ipa. You can also check out our website, which is intuitive-psychology.com.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much for the work you do. Truly angels on this earth.
Can I just jump something in, actually?
Absolutely.
We're actually enrolling for our next cohort of students in November. So if anyone listens to this before then, we take, as Sarah said, you know, we take 2 cohorts through each year. So it's usually in November and at the end of April. So if anyone is thinking about, actually, I want to train with these incredible people in intuitive psychology, then, you know, just contact us via our website.
Amazing.
And I'm excited. I want to see those questions too. I love them.
Yeah, we'll share those.
We'll share those
resources.
Put them in the description.
All right. Thank you so much. This has been Guys We Fuck, the Anti-Slut Shaming Podcast. We'll talk to you next Friday.